Question number 9, Dr Kennedy Graham.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. To the Minister for Climate Change Issues. Does he stand by his statement in this House on 8 August 2013 that, quote, "We have every reason to be concerned about New Zealand's reputation, but our action on climate change right now is not amongst those reasons"?
Mr Speaker.
Honourable Tim Grosser.
Yes, I stand by that statement, which of course was made in the context of very legitimate concerns on the 8th of August 2013 around the whey protein concentrate issue, and where I and many New Zealanders were concerned about New Zealand's reputation on those grounds until we found out it was a false positive. But, Mr Speaker, I was multitasking. It expressed also my view then, which remains my view today, that New Zealand's reputation in terms of our contribution to climate change is just fine.
That's right. Yeah.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Dr Kennedy Graham.
How can he not be concerned about New Zealand's reputation on climate change when, according to Otago Associate Professor Bob Lloyd, New Zealand is widely viewed as, quote, "a selfish climate negotiator on the world stage"?
Honourable Tim Grosser.
Mr Speaker, because I totally reject the assertion. The reason why I think we're doing our share is as follows. Assuming the Australian Senate does indeed repeal the Australian carbon tax, New Zealand will be the only country in the world outside the European Union to have a comprehensive price on carbon. The World Bank mapping report on pricing carbon schemes estimates that a very modest, unfortunately, 7% of global emissions are covered by pricing schemes. Fortunately, New Zealand is among that, and therefore we can hold our head high.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Dr Kennedy Graham.
So what is his response to a comment this week from leading climate scientist Dr Jim Rennick of Victoria University that political will on climate change is, quote, "lacking in New Zealand"?
Mr
Honourable
Speaker.
Tim Grosser.
Well, I think political will around the world is lacking on climate change in terms of global mitigation, for the very simple reason that, for example, in the Kyoto Protocol, neither the United States nor China, responsible for 40% of emissions, took any commitment under the Kyoto Protocol, because 100 countries since then have still offered to do absolutely nothing. What we need is a global response, but, Mr Speaker, I think New Zealand is absolutely in the right space on this issue.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Dr Kennedy Graham.
Then what is his response to New Zealand's lead author on the IPCC mitigation report, Professor Ralph Sims of Massey University, who says the Minister's description of New Zealand's mitigation opportunities as being limited is, quote, "far from correct"?
Mr Speaker,
Honourable Tim Grosser.
I would respectfully suggest to the gentleman that he stick to his field of expertise, because when we look at the wild statements that gentleman made, they are palpably wrong on multiple levels. Going around pretending that every country in the world is doing 10, 20, 30% reductions is complete and utter nonsense, Mr Speaker. So I think stick to the knitting wouldn't be a bad piece of advice.
Supplementary question, Dr Kennedy Graham.
Is the Minister credibly saying that New Zealanders should believe his multitasked position on climate change rather than New Zealand's leading independent climate scientists who have this week called his government wrong, selfish and lacking in political will?
Honourable Tim Grosser.
Oh, I think that the New Zealand community should listen very carefully to the Professor when he's talking about his particular field of scientific expertise, on which I would have nothing to comment. But when he steers across into broader questions of comparability, I suggest that actually they would be better listening to the person who represents the government and has access to a wide range of official advice.
Question number 10, Ian Lees-Galloway.
Mr Speaker, my question is to the Minister for ACC.